Hi, this is Vijay Sood. I manage the Salesforce Industries program architect team globally. I've been with Salesforce for the last 15 years, and today it's my pleasure through this CRM Stage Forum to talk to you about the Omnistudio capabilities that come from Salesforce Industries. So before I start, I'd like to talk about the forward-looking statement as we normally do. So this is to basically say, please make your buying decisions on generally available software and feature functionality that Salesforce and Salesforce Industries provide. And I may talk about some roadmap directions of travel that we're going to, but do make your decisions based on currently available technology. Thank you. So what's Omnistudio, right? Omnistudio actually came from the Salesforce Industries work that we've done. It's to allow us to build. It's a set of task-based components. So it's not just one thing; it's multiple things, and it allows us to build a digitally first, UI-centric, industry-specific business processes. Okay. So it works from a UI specific point of view. But the key thing about it is you build it on the Salesforce platform and you can deploy it across many devices and channels. It also allows for this real crafted, branded user experience for multiple customers across their real estate. And it does use declarative tools. What that basically means is that we're trying to limit the amount of custom code or Apex code that you build, okay, for these capabilities. It does simplify the agent journey, and it does use technology that is more drag and drop WYSIWYG type technology. I will go into it a bit more later. And what are the specific sets of Omnistudio? So Omnistudio actually is a set of components, as I said to you. Now, broadly, you've got to think of them as components that enable the client side, the browser side of capability, and components that help on the server side, so the data side of capability. And then we have components that allow you to make the developer life and release manager's life easier from your development environment to your SIT, your UAT, and to your production environment. So there is technology behind the scenes to help you do that in one go. So let me start at the top level, right? The client side technologies are Omniscripts and FlexCards. The Omniscript is an easy to use declarative tool that allows you to put in drag and drop functionality to modularly build complex business processes. With Omnistudio, with Omniscripts, businesses can then craft the customer interactions as they see fit through whatever sales or services processes they have for that given industry. And for example, in the telco thing, as a digital thing, digital front end, you might have a customer buying iPhones and things, and you can go through the buy journey to the join journey to in-life journeys using the front end Omniscript technology. FlexCards is a tool that has customer-centric, industry-specific UI that's based on the latest Lightning Web Component or Web Component technology. So these are components that you can natively use on any browser, on most browsers that Salesforce supports. You can find out those browsers on our website, and it is easily deployable. But it is usually also used by agents to have one view of the customer. So you may have a flex card that looks at the billing of the energy billing things of a particular customer or their latest interactions, and you can also invoke actions off the flex card to kickstart an Omniscript or other processes that you wish. On the server side, we have data raptors, data and integration procedures. Data raptors are essentially natively built extract, transformation, and load technology. So ETL technology that helps you to transform the data you wish to have. It doesn't replace technologies like MuleSoft, but it gives you a leverage to utilize that within the Salesforce platform. Integration procedures allow server-side processes that execute multiple actions that could be based on data that's within a single server call, that could be based on data that is on Salesforce or an external legacy systems. And that we do reach that using RESTful classes and API, or if you have Apex classes, we will integrate those through the integration procedures. This is typically, the integration procedures are typically the source for Omniscripts, FlexCards, or an API call, or through Apex. On the other side of things, we have an interaction console that allows you to actually utilize these common components across vertical contact centers. Omni Analytics allows you to see data visually on the business processes that are being followed and identify trends at a process level. This doesn't replace Tableau and other things. This is just an ability to give you, for a specific Omniscript flow, where the touch points of the customer business performance is happening, and track where we're getting to, what's going on, and what components to improve. The IDX workbench on the other side is more for us to have the ability for our developers and release managers to release the data from in and out of source control into sandboxes and all the way up to the production environment. Users can visualize any version to version changes. So if you're doing a code drop now, you can actually see the differences between the different FlexCard deployments, Omnistudio deployments, integration procedures, or data raptors. And the Project Explorer is an ability to actually organize that metadata in a visual environment across different industry processes. So what I'd like to show you is how the Omnistudio architecture actually works. Now, we will go into it in the next 10-20 minutes around the different components in depth. And this links up to different cross-industry applications that are then utilized by the different verticals we have, right? So the Omnistudio is a common set of interface components or task-based components that are used by multiple different verticals within our portfolio suite set. It also allows you, as I said, to integrate upfront, so you can actually use it in Community Cloud, non-Salesforce front-end systems, and use it through the integration procedures to back-end systems. Okay. In a more detailed architecture, if I may, in a more detailed architecture, you do see the following. So if we move on to the next slide. Okay, so what happens here is, in tier 1 type companies, say a telco, big large-scale telco provider, or an insurance provider, or an energy provider, you do have a complex real estate you're working with. So what happens within the complex real estate? We may have to look at different browsers and mobile devices using our Salesforce mobile app, or their own custom web app, or Salesforce's own web app. This can be integrated, so the client-side components of FlexCards and Omniscripts can live in those environments. Integrate through a web API gateway like Apogee into Salesforce, or MuleSoft into Salesforce, the Salesforce platform where you're building those components, right? That then allows us to use the power of the Salesforce platform and the vertically deep data models and processes were built on the server. CPQ processes. This is configure, price, and quotations. As for telco, customer models and process models, claims management, policy management in insurance, etc. Utilization of the product catalog to render information either on the front end or integrate with calculation engines like Matrix, rating engines, and billing engines. Or on the other side, through our CI/CD platform, you can actually render the Omnistudio capabilities in CMS systems. So these are content management systems like Adobe Experience Manager. So a number of the clients I worked with have Adobe on the front end. We can create OmniScripts and render them through a technology called OmniOut into non-native Salesforce platforms on the front end. And it includes other CDNs that you can utilize. This, as you can see, is really a complex architecture, which is usually found in multiple tier 1, tier 2 clients, right? So we are able to work in that environment. So what are the specific components in Omnistudio, right? So let me just go through the specific product capabilities, right? The first one we've talked about is OmniScripts, right? So what is OmniScripts, right? It is actually allows you dynamic. It's a process that it's a technology that allows you to build multiple steps, business forms, and guided flows across the customer journey. It actually invokes client-side logic, and based on the responses that come back through your server-side process, we do have a seamless integration through data raptors to REST APIs, SOAP APIs, Apex classes. Based on some of those responses, you might change the customer branching logic. Yeah. An example could be you're doing an iPhone purchase, but you're doing a credit history check with a backend system like Experian. Information coming back might lead you to want to ask the customer for more questions in the branching logic, or you might want to, if it's a customer with good credit, you might want to push them through quite fast to improve their customer experience. That kind of branching logic is built within the Omnistudio, or you have the ability to configure it within the OmniScript capability. So I talked about the whole point of this is to reduce the Apex or code that you have. So you are reducing your total cost of operation, but also you are able to then just not only render it on our Salesforce front-end systems, but through the OmniOut technology features, able to render it on web components such as Adobe and any other web server. This is based on what Salesforce calls Lightning Web Component technology. So LWCs are now a feature set of web components, are a feature set of browsers, and this improves the performance and reduces the need of using iframes. Okay, so sometimes the question is, Salesforce has a number of technologies like ScreenFlow. So sometimes the question is asked, what's the difference between using OmniScripts and ScreenFlow? So I'll give you a high-level comparison and what I would say. ScreenFlows are native to Salesforce, and they are process-driven technology designer. OmniScripts are based on a UI-based designer paradigm. We have custom style sheet support on things where you can, as I said, you can look at multiple component configurations and look across multiple S objects within Salesforce through the integration procedures, and we have integration to other analytics like Google. Within ScreenFlows, if you're basically looking at in-house employee-only Salesforce only type of data stuff. Screen flows are predominantly good for those type of designs. Now here's a forward-looking statement for you. Over time, I think the OmniScripts will be more native to the Salesforce platform, and there will be a merge of that capability between the two. That's my belief. Okay. We also have a predominant simplified ways. There are more detailed ways of looking at this, but in a simplified manner, you could say when you have a high customer interaction, external use of pathway, you have lots of flows to do, and you want to leverage the process libraries. OmniScripts are pretty good to use for external personas in industry specific use cases. You can also invoke certain things from ScreenFlows to OmniScripts, but that does take some doing. But when you're looking at internally facing users within Salesforce, ScreenFlows are pretty good for employee-facing use cases. Okay, and where you don't need to have pixel perfect things, you have the ability to draw onto your own design styling. All right. So those are the kind of considerations you need to take when you're looking at front-end technology like OmniScripts, ScreenFlows, and other technologies. OmniScripts and ScreenFlows themselves, but OmniScripts are based on Lightning Web Components, so they are leveraging the latest and greatest on browser technology. It does mean that you don't now need to worry about iframes for those of you who understand that. Okay, so just moving on. FlexCards. So this is the other component on the client side. FlexCards allows you to have a card framework where you can render data in one go. It's drag and drop again. It's Lightning Web Component based. It uses click-based configuration, and you can have multiple UI elements to it. So input boxes, masks, etc., like that, right? The data source that we bring, there's a wizard within the data source designer, allows you to bring in different data sources to the front end. So I could have, for my energy customer, I could be bringing in my billing data. I could bring in my consumption data. I could look at the contact and account record on the same set of cards, and then from the cards, you also have the ability to run actions, and the action could start a guided flow using OmniScript. Okay, so it's great for having a singular console for an agent or a customer who wants to understand their whole portfolio of information from the customer. Okay. So that is FlexCards. It's on the client side. Data Raptor and integration procedures. So this is now going on to the server side. And what's a Data Raptor? So Data Raptor is actually a declarative transaction-based ETL tool. So that's extract, transformation, and load tool that runs natively on Salesforce. And it's included in that Omnistudio suite of components. Now, it doesn't mitigate the need for you to have ESBs like MuleSoft, right? But what it does do is it allows you to change and transform data that you want to use or render natively on the Salesforce platform. It's declarative, JSON-based objects and REST APIs, as I discussed. And we are able to handle both JSON transaction and XML-based transactions. There is a bit of caching built in for performance reasons, and once again, the actual data source management is done through declarative means, and we do bulk transactions. So this allows for people to reduce the code that they build on the platform itself. The integration procedures allow for multiple objects that you can connect to and allow for, as I said, interfaces to back-end systems that are non-native on Salesforce, right? Without the use of a lot of code. If you do have Apex classes, integration procedures can hook into Apex classes as well. Okay, and so those are data raptors and integration procedures. So you have a couple of things you could do on the client side using Omniscript and flexcards, and you have a few things you could do on the server side using data raptors and integration procedures that allow you to link to backend systems. All of this actually is drag and drop technology. So it's drag and drop technology, which limits the use of writing custom code. And that's crucial if you're running large scale programs. It also, where I've seen things, it also improves the development time and reduces the development time by about 60% if you're trained well on it. So on the other side of that activity that I was talking to you about earlier, what we have is we do have Omni Analytics. This is actually built-in telemetrics within the process that allows you to actually see what's good for what's good in the business process steps that you built for an Omniscript, what's taking time, where do customers actually are struggling with the business process step. And it allows you to have that ability to look at trends at a process level. And that may allow your business users to actually change the process step to improve their actions. One thing about Omniscript I was going to also mention is Omniscripts in the business process steps you do. If a customer wants to save that step and come back to it later, there is functionality built in to save for later processes. So the Omni Analytics does that. It doesn't mitigate the use of Tableau and other technology. This is just at process level within the suite of technologies we are offering. And then we start moving on to how do you move how do you make life easy for us to move the metadata and data packs across different environments, from your dev environments and your Scratch orgs to all the way across to production. So SIT, UAT, pre-prod production. So the IDX workbench is there it's a visual method to help you simplify your DevOps processes. If you can check components in using source control, sandboxes. You can visualize the different versions that you've had. So version 5 of that Omniscript and version 6 of that Omniscript, you can see what's changed, or your release manager can see what's changed. You can migrate the changes and all the dependencies within those changes between the orgs. Look at the performance profile and see where we can improve those, and actually visualize some of the test procedures and execution within a Gantt chart up front. Okay. What I will go to is back again to tier 1 type or tier 2 customers, others. The real estate of looking after CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development, is quite a sophisticated place to think about things, right? You might have customers that have some of the DevOps tools that we would link up to, right? So we utilize for the UI side of things, we utilize the metadata API, Salesforce's metadata API, to push and pull source things and its dependencies. This is a set of technology and capabilities that you want to build over time. On top of that, there are third-party tools that you can use, like Copado, AutoRabbit, or GearSet, that will actually have the capabilities built in for version control, automated metadata integration, but they do pick on the Omnistudio capabilities and bring them across the different environments from dev to production. And then you have the custom built solutions and things like Jenkins, Bamboo, and BuildKite, etc. that you could utilize. It doesn't stop if a customer has a more sophisticated CI/CD environment, the ability for our IDX and toolset, we can absolutely integrate to whatever, or integrate our processes to their CI/CD processes. I always say that your project capability and velocity is usually dependent on the speed of your DevOps, and so this is something that many people should be taking care of, and ensure that we are able to actually work well through release management. Okay, and just to finish off, just to show you what a tier 1 customer might look at, these are capabilities that we do integrate to using our IDX environment. So you might be planning and designing using Confluence or Jira, use the GitHub capability for source control, and move up the code chain. Look at code scanning tools, we can integrate to those. Look at pipeline management through continuous integration like Jenkins or Azure, and then test and release and backup processes using tool sets like Odysseus or Catalan and things, right? And if you want to then look at detailed logs, you could look at Splunk. This would be a mature process using many specialized tools, but capable to integrate to Salesforce Industries and Salesforce Platform tool sets. So the one that I missed out also was Project Explorer. This just as I mentioned on the release side, this is a panel within the org that shows the active project. It shows the updates that you have from that tool set, and it shows you what Salesforce metadata can be automatically updated. This is a good thing for release managers, I'd have to say. Okay, so this is my whistle-stop tour on what the Omnistudio capability is, and the ability, and a little bit around what DevOps tool sets we can utilize. Just as an example, just one slide on the types of customers that have utilized this particular things. You do reduce your development time. I have found that, if Omnistudio does allow you, it reduces custom code ability, and it does allow you to use a lot more of your clicks not code capabilities to test out different business process steps using Omniscript, or visualization using flexcards, and linking into the backend systems using integration procedures and data raptor to help you do that. Okay, to give for the tech guys amongst you, to give you like a sequence diagram, you could think of the Omniscript making calls to Salesforce and HTTP requests out to an Adobe Content Manager. You could use the integration procedures, as I've mentioned here, to different backend systems, and bring information back, etc. So there's a number of different step scenarios you can use, right? So the Omniscripts at the front end, or the flexcards if you're bunching a lot of things together, and you can just flow that across the process as you so need. Okay, so hopefully this gives you an understanding of how we work, right? Different customers have used different things. We may be making call outs to, Experian or postcode lookup to get some information before we move on with that step. These calls can be synchronous mainly, and you can have bulk uploads or asynchronous calls built in. The calls can go into Apex calls if you so wish. Sorry about that, but the calls can go into Apex calls if you so wish. But we do try to reduce the coding that you have to meet the industry need for that particular customer. And so what else can I let you know? So You can also have the ability to consume APIs without utilizing a lot of code. So this, as I mentioned, you could have a number of steps within your Omnistudio. So this is a good visual way of looking at it. Checking availability for, some capability for broadband, selecting the option you want, providing the billing data, checking the credit, securing the installation, and scheduling it in. This just integrates to the different systems that you wish to, and consumes APIs within it automatically. So that web-based RESTful APIs, if you have them. Okay. And what's Omnistudio to finish off with? So you get the capability of Omnistudio. You get the capability of Omnistudio. We have intelligent documentation and document management systems. So you can actually integrate to things like DocuSign to actually improve activities there. We can also have, based on the just to repeat myself, based on the integration procedures and things, have a high performance data aggregation process and data processing engines there. All right. Okay. So this gives you this whole digital processing automation features that the Salesforce platform provides, and there's a lot of functionality built into it. And finally, what I'd like to leave you, it is a whistle-stop tour to give you a flavor of what the front-end engines of Omnistudio do and the server-side engines. But finally, if you do want to read more, get to do Trailhead, right? So in Trailhead, there are a couple of badges you can go for. So trailhead.salesforce.com. You can run through the whole Omnistudio trail. Yeah, so it teaches you about Omniscripts, flex cards, the integration procedures, etc. You can, I believe, also get a developer org from there, and just practice it yourself. There are a couple of good blogs that you could go to that actually talk a lot about this. Friend of ours, Anup, has written a few things about Salesforce Industries, Anup Jadhav, and talked about how this applies for architects. So there's a lot of information there, guys and gals. Please go have a look at it and really have a good time. Enjoy yourself in working on investigating what Omnistudio and the capabilities of Omnistudio has for your particular industry. My final thing is to say thank you very much. If you have any questions, just please come back to me through the team and we will try to help you out. So thank you for the time and thank you for listening to me. So have a good time. Take care. Bye-bye.